What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this week and every week, yes, I know you're tackled. Please die quietly. It's Desra.
I don't know that one.
It's from EVE Online.
Oh, okay. And sitting across from me, of course, is Brian Paul.
And every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we dip into the PSVR archive. We dust the blow off an old PlayStation VR game. We check into it, we see if it's been given any love by developers, any updates, any DLC, and then we let you know if it's worth your time. That being said, what game did we decide to play this week, Desra?
This week, we decided to play Gunjack.
Or EVE Gunjack, right?
Well,
it's called
EVE,
Gunjack
yes.
in the PlayStation Store.
Right.
And then every logo says EVE Gunjack.
Yes.
Very strange. EVE Gunjack by CCP Games,
Yes.
released October 13th, 2016, making it a launch
Title? Yeah,
day
so
title.
This is as old as it gets.
As old as it gets for PlayStation VR. Retail for $9.99, $10. About a year later, it dropped down to $4.99. And actually, I've checked it out on psprices.com.
Yep.
Frequently on sale for $2. CCP Games, just for anyone who doesn't know.
Let's pour one out.
Yeah, seriously, they really started off, especially at the launch of PSVR, as these VR superstar developers
Yes.
making AAA quality games. Along with this, there was EVE Valkyrie,
Yep.
which still maybe to this day is the best space flying shooter out there. I'm including No Man's Sky because that game's still really blurry. But when we filmed this, it was still blurry, but EVE Valkyrie is a beautiful game. And of course, they are the makers of the EVE Online series, which includes EVE Online, Dust 514, EVE Valkyrie. I know you're going to say Spark.
Yeah.
I was trying to stay on topic, but Spark is pretty awesome. They don't, according to what we know, they don't really make VR games anymore.
No, about it was 6 months or a year ago. They shut it. So basically, CCP Atlanta. So CCP Games is based out of Finland. But they had a unit in Atlanta, and that was their VR unit. Those were the folks who were doing the bulk development on VR titles, and that got shuttered. There was interviews with the CEO. Basically said our VR sales massively underdelivered. They were just far below our lowest projections, and they just decided it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, and that's a shame because when you have a AAA studio willing to put a lot of money into VR and then it just doesn't pan out for them, you have to understand and you have to say, well, we don't want you guys going bankrupt. The best case scenario is that when there are more headsets out there, maybe they'll return to VR development.
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
And I think it's it's a shame. We've said this before, but if a Spark came out today, it would blow up. It would be huge, but the problem was it came out way too early. There was not a big user base, and it's an exclusively multiplayer game. So it was in a tough spot.
Yeah, but a great game.
But
Pick up Spark if you don't have it.
Yeah. And there's a little glint of hope in the horizon because they actually did do a major patch, a major upgrade for Spark recently. So who knows? But we're not talking about Spark today. We're talking about Gunjack.
Yeah, and Gunjack being part of the EVE universe is strange because out of all the EVE games, this one has the smallest scope.
Literally.
I mean, so much so. And it's definitely the simplest design-wise. And I think when you look at where it came from as a Gear VR launch title,
yes,
it all starts making
very
sense
important
and coming together.
Yeah, I mean, and if you've played EVE Valkyrie, and then you play, and you're like, oh, wait, there's a game for the VR by the same dev team? For only $5? $5. Oh my gosh, what a bargain. Let me pick it up. It's not from the same team. Not for the same team at all. From a Shanghai team, which I think a good chance they were just outsourced and say, hey, here's our logo. Here's some design ideas and some assets. Go make a game that'll work on the Gear.
So I think what we're trying to get to is that this game is basically Galaga VR.
Yes.
It uses head tracking. You're a Gunjack, which is basically just a turret gunner on the side of this huge mining vessel.
Right, but an oddly mobile turret gunner, because what you'll see at least 20 times if you finish the game is the animation of you getting loaded up into things. So what is it? Let's see. Ba, 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 ba.
Yeah. Luckily, you can skip that animation. It brings you to the same place every time as where each level begins, and it's just the side of the mining ship, and you're using head tracking to aim, R2 to fire, and immediately, the second the first wave of ships comes down onto the screen and does like this huge flying pattern formation, you're like, oh, it's Galaga.
Yeah, it is.
It's just okay, and so you're moving your head around and you're firing, and I mean that's kind of it, except for maybe the other big mechanic is hitting square to reload, which I think 90% of your success in this game is learning when to reload properly.
Yeah. The other thing that is added, there are, just like any kind of wave shooter, there are weapon upgrades, but you can only have one weapon upgrade at a time, which in itself isn't that bad of a thing. But what happens is there's no real strategy to when to use them. So, for instance, there's a slow field upgrade, which basically you blast it out there, boom, it makes this huge, really cool effect in space, and any of the ships that fly through that are really slow. Well, you get that, and then immediately, like, oh, the next enemies I see are going to be a bunch of really fast guys. And sure enough, there they are. You do that and go. So it's less of, hey, here's this cool thing I need to hold on to and use at the right time. It's like, no, if you get that, the very next batch of enemies you're going to see, you're going to want to use it on them.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's scripted in the worst possible way. It's here's a weapon upgrade, and you're like, oh, well, okay, I'm not going to carry this over to the next level. Yeah. I can't really save it because you can only have one loaded up at a time. So you have to use it quickly, and in the game obviously is designed for you to get it at that time, use it at that time, and it just, again, for this kind of game, it just feels all scripted in the worst possible way.
And you can't flip between one fire mode and the other.
Right.
You get your special mode, that's the only thing you can shoot or use until it's spent.
Yeah.
So there's not even the choice of like, oh, I'm going to use it for a little bit now and switch back to my regular guns. No, it's like you get it, you use it, it's gone.
Right.
Or sometimes it's just taken from you.
It's in the whole reloading mechanic that I mentioned. It's really, you just have to learn that, okay, if there's a wave of enemy on the screen and you take that out, and there's still another wave of the enemies on the screen, you take that out, and then there's one more, take that out. If you immediately don't see another wave of enemy on the screen, hit reload, because that's when you're sort of, again, scripted to do it successfully, because it takes a few seconds.
It does.
And if you get a wave of enemies that comes on the screen and you're trying to reload, you're going to get hit by oncoming fire. They're going to get off the screen without being destroyed. It's going to be a disaster. So it's really, for me, 90% of this game was learning when to reload.
Yeah, it really was. Like, I didn't realize that was the situation until, because I blew through probably the first 10 or 11 levels.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the easiest game I've ever played.
Yeah.
This is insane. And then I guess it must have been level 12 or 13. I missed a reload opportunity, instantly dead.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened? It's like, oh, it's because, and it's just this heartbreaking moment of you hit reload and just waiting, and you're like, oh nope, I'm just gonna die now. There's nothing else you can do while you're waiting for that reload cycle. There's no, every once in a while the game will throw like the ability to blow up bigger ships and take their pieces and make shields. But even then, it's just like, when you do that, it's not necessary, or at least the game, the way the game is structured in that moment, it doesn't really make a difference.
Right. And there are 2, I believe, maybe, is it just 2 levels that sort of mix things up and they throw you into an asteroid field?
Yeah, those are called bonus levels. And it's basically, you're sitting there in the Gunjack and asteroids are coming at you, and they just kind of come faster and faster and faster until eventually you die. Right.
The point of that is not to finish the level. The point is to survive as long as you can.
Right.
Now, the issue with that is that there's only 4 different rankings you can get on a level.
Yep.
And I've never gotten 1 star. Right? You can get 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, or master, which is basically like S rank, right? And I've played through all the levels. I've never once gotten only 1 star. I've gotten 2 stars occasionally, and I've very easily gotten 3 stars. And then when I've gone back and replayed it, knowing what I'm expecting, very easily get the master rank. The problem with this is that there's really there's online leaderboards, so, and I know that there are people out there going, yeah, Brian, it's an arcade game. It's just like Galaga. You already said it. So that's the point of this game, is to get a high score, right? An actual number high score to get put on the leaderboard.
Yep.
My issue with this is that while I was playing through, all I could think was about all the missed opportunities that they had in this game.
Yes.
And in fact, if you guys played Bandit 6, another PSVR game. It's basically this game, but World War II.
Okay.
Right? You're on a biplane and you're Indiana Jonesing the crap out of some other planes that are flying by. They're dropping power-ups. You're getting points. But between levels, there's an entire upgrade system. Where you can, where it's not, I don't think you don't have to reload your gun in that game, but you can overheat your weapons, and so you can reduce, the overheat thing. You can increase your shields. You can upgrade every single weapon. The buffs that you get or the temporary upgrades you get mid-level, you can upgrade those as well. And so there's this huge upgrade system going on that Gunjack has none of. Between levels, there is literally nothing to do other than go to another level. Right.
And or watch the little animation of your pod coming up out of the ground exactly the same way every single time.
Right.
And listen to the lovely narration.
And the narration brings me to the other thing I'm horribly disappointed in.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how much I love Headmaster.
Yes.
Headmaster, there's a similarity here. Gunjack, every single level has you doing the same thing over and over and over, but with slight variation.
Sure.
Right? And there's voiceover in Gunjack as you're heading up to the next level, and I think a little bit during the level, if I remember correctly.
At the beginning of the level, at the end of the level.
Perfect.
But not usually during the level.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Headmaster does this similar thing where you're just headbutting a soccer ball for all of the levels.
Use your hips, guys.
And you're trying to get the best score possible.
Yeah.
But it punctuates that game with a narrative so well that you forget that what you're doing is basically just hitting balls with your head at different targets. Yeah. And the story in Headmaster is so good. And with this being part of the EVE universe, right? You're part of an illegal mining operation. You're fighting space pirates. How many amazing stories could there be? But yet the voiceover tells us nothing.
No.
Zero. It does not deliver any story whatsoever for the entire length of the game.
Does it even say what faction or corporation you're working for?
Yeah, somewhere.
It does?
Okay. I don't know, maybe. I think maybe in the description on the PlayStation Store, like the Outer Ring something or another.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and it's but it's all throwaway. It's all nonsensical. It's all garbage, and it's and unless you're like super into the EVE universe, and actually probably especially if you're super into the EVE universe, this adds nothing to the narrative. Yeah. And so again, I think with very little effort, they could have penned the story. And then just given the voiceover guy, I don't even remember what his name is.
Vardis.
Thank you very much. They could have had him delivering the story and made given each level some substance, saying, okay, now we're doing this, now we're doing this, now we're doing this, and kind of giving you a sense of the overarching narrative. Instead, there's just nothing.
What I'd like to see, and I didn't find any of my research, and maybe there's some EVE players, who are our viewers can tell me, are the ships that you're fighting actual ship classes in EVE? I'm going to make a guess and say they aren't. Yeah. I couldn't find any confirmation either way, and I'm not about to start playing EVE just to do research for this game because I know the way my brain is structured, that would be the end of my life. For those of you who don't know, EVE Online is an incredibly in-depth, it is an entire economy and world structure on its own. It's amazing.
And what kills me is that other games like Dust 514 had you were on a planet and you were fighting battles, which I think, if I remember correctly, was actually influencing things in EVE Online.
Yep.
So these games are all interconnected in the craziest, most awesome ways, and then they give us this, which is just totally irrelevant.
Well, and I think its background as being developed for the gear, and not only that, its scoring system tells you very much, you know what? This is a mobile game.
Yeah.
Because the way you play through the levels, you unlock the amount of stars you need to unlock later levels.
Right.
Which is Angry Bird structure.
It is.
So, you can basically, if you get 3 stars in the first, I think 7 or 8 levels, you can unlock the boss. Right. So just everything about it screams mobile game that was crammed into VR, that was crammed into PSVR.
And I think what's frustrating about that is that there were so many opportunities to enhance it for PSVR.
Yeah.
Most of how many levels is it? 20? 22?
20 plus the 2 bonus levels.
There we go. In most of the levels you go out into, the backgrounds are just 2D static backdrop images. There's just wallpaper across the back. And you're like, oh, this is, and even the ship that you're, attached to looks like just flat wallpaper.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of depth to this, which sucks because the cockpit that you're in looks pretty good.
Yeah.
With the exception of looking down and seeing your body that's like 3 times bigger than it should be. It's like the Bravo team syndrome. But there's this cool immersive feeling that they just don't do anything with. Some of the levels do give you a 3D aspect. Like when you're flying, there's a planet.
There's a couple where there's actually a planet right below you.
Yeah.
And I think one of the later levels, there's actually like these huge structures on the planet. And kind of like, oh, that gives it some depth.
Right. The planet's like spinning on an axis and, almost makes you feel like you're moving through space because of the movement below you. And there's just not enough of that. And I think when you do see it, it makes the points where it doesn't do it that much worse. Yeah. So...
And there are a variety of enemy types, which is, we're making it sound like, oh, everything's so monotonous. And it's this weird trick they do. I don't know. They introduce this variety of enemy types, and almost every level has some kind of new enemy type they've introduced that immediately becomes monotonous and boring because they're super easy to figure out, and there's just no challenge. Even I think for me, the toughest were the shielded ships, where let's say 4 ships will fly out.
One of them is not shielded.
And that's the only one you can choose. So you blow this one up, and then maybe this one loses the shield, and you can blow this one up. And it's not the same each time. So that, at first you're like, oh, that's pretty clever. That's going to take some thinking. It's like, no, just aim, spray, and you're going to hit them all eventually anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because it does feel like it's going somewhere. It does feel like it's introducing cool new mechanics. Sometimes the new weapons feel very powerful. I love the laser gun specifically. But the fact is that, again, it's just so you have it for such a limited amount of time that you can't even really enjoy it or use it skillfully.
Right.
You're just like, oh, the next 4 enemies I kill are going to be killed by a laser gun instead.
Yeah.
Did you know there's a sequel to this?
I did.
We didn't get it.
No.
I basically watched the full playthrough of it today. It's called Eve Gunjack 2 End of Shift. It's on, again, mobile VR devices.
Right.
They didn't port it over. I can only imagine because this one didn't sell all that well. And I will say that they watching the gameplay of that, they injected story.
Oh.
It feels very like Wing Commander 1, like where you're sitting down at a table and there's a couple of dudes a couple of dudes and they're, delivering some story. But again, it's still like, why did you do it that way? Why couldn't you have just done it more seamlessly? Why make me sit here at a table and just listen to people talk?
Yeah.
So
sitting at a table listening to people talk?
Yeah, I don't know why you guys are still here.
Who would do that?
Craziness. Hey, at least we're not doing it in VR. We know better.
Well, we never hit that stretch goal. So
no, seriously, that would be amazing. We did. Yeah, there was a point where we said we'll do podcasting in VR if we met a Patreon goal. That was years ago. And we're nowhere near it. So there was a part of me that was like, oh, there's a sequel out there. I bet they improved it in every possible way. And then I kind of watched it and I was like, well, you know what? I don't really feel bad that we didn't get the sequel, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Should we rate this?
Yes. Well, I think we have to. It's part of our mandate.
It's the only way the show's going to end.
Yeah. So our rating scale is pretty simple to understand. 1 is yes, you have to buy this. If you have a PSVR, it absolutely has to be in your library. It's just the best of the genre. Just shut up and go buy it. A 2 is, yeah, sure, why not? If it's on sale at a decent price, or if it's a genre that you particularly love, go ahead and pick it up. It's not going to hurt you. 3 is no. Friends don't let friends buy crap. We need to vote with our wallets and tell these developers that we deserve better. So 1, 2, or 3. What do you think? It's toughy.
It is a toughie.
Yeah.
Because I think if this game was any more than $5, I'd be giving it a 3.
Right?
Right. And it was once upon a time $10. It's if you look at what they're doing instead of what I wish they were doing, then they've created Galaga in VR. And they've created 20 levels of Galaga in VR. if you're a high score junkie and you can check out the leaderboards, I saw a lot of you on there, so I know you've played this. I kid you not. I saw tons of Game Cat names. So, and I know we were all desperate for something to play at launch, but
this is true.
But I really think that if you look at this as an arcade game and that you want to get the highest score possible and compete with your friends on the leaderboard, for $5, this isn't a bad way to waste an afternoon. What's here works perfectly. The head tracking might be, it's very early proof of concept that head tracking on PSVR is extremely accurate.
Yes.
It's very, very precise.
I will give them that.
It is, you look slightly in any direction. this thing is just 100% one-to-one mapped to your face, and it works perfectly.
Yeah.
And you get to shoot a lot of stuff. And that is it. It is super basic, very bare bones. Again, if it was more than $5, I'd be giving this a 3. But for $5, it's not a horrible way to waste an afternoon. It'll take you a couple hours to beat the entire thing, maybe an extra hour to go back and get the best score or get the highest ranking on each level.
Yeah.
I don't endorse this thing to any degree. It's probably the lowest 2 I've ever given. Mm-hmm. It's like I could take it or leave it, and it really makes no impact on my life whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it's not broken, and it does what it wants to do kind of okay. But if you really are looking for a game like this, go buy Bandit 6, because Bandit 6 does this so much better, and it's only like $12. And you're going to get a lot more gameplay out of that. You're going to be a lot happier that you bought that one instead. And it comes with 2 games, actually. So that's a whole different story. Maybe we'll do that sometime. Yeah, it's a 2. It's a really weak 2, but I have a feeling I know what you're going to say.
What I want to say is this. So what I want you to do at home, take your right hand, and it's got to be your right hand. You don't have any choice here. And curl these fingers into a fist. Take your index finger and do this. Okay? How does that feel? Is that exciting? You having fun? Then you're going to love this game. If that was boring for you, then you're not going to like this game, because that's pretty much the only decision you're going to be making is, do I do it now or now or now? Do I hold it down or do I just tap it a little bit? And yes, you might be saying, again, it's like, well, but that's just the kind of game. It's like, no, there are good. Galaga is a good version of this game. Okay? There are good wave shooters. There are good arcade simulator shooters. This is just, it's mediocre at every turn. It's not, it doesn't swing big and fail. Okay, which I'd be much happier. Like, yeah, they tried this crazy thing and it totally didn't work and it's a train wreck, but at least they tried. This was just, no, this is by the numbers, and I'm going to give it a 3 because there are better ways to spend an afternoon. You know what? Your time is valuable. Your life is valuable. If you're going to, forget the price. If this was free, I just... There are so many more better and richer ways you could be spending 3 hours of your life. Even if the game was crappy, like just play it for the MST3K thing, just like play it to make fun of it. That's the thing. There's not even anything to make fun of in this game because it's not poorly made. What it does competently, but it doesn't do anything interesting. It's beige. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Yep.
Maybe if it's on $2 and you are super, super bored and you want to play a VR game, but you can't move for some reason,
You can't move for some reason?
It's like you can't stand up, like a game where you can move around. And,
sure, yeah.
Like, because literally the only thing you're doing is these fingers and moving your head around. So, if you're mobility impaired, I guess.
I guess it's a thing.
If you're in the Arcus Path market, I really... at some level I feel like I'm being unfair because we've given games that were broken higher scores than this.
Yeah. But as you said, they took a big swing and a miss.
Yeah, and this doesn't.
This just holds the bat and goes.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
Now, if I were rating this for like Google Cardboard, I'm like, yeah, this is a fantastic game for Google Cardboard. This is great. I can put it on my head, But for the PSVR and the expectations we have. Yeah, I don't know. You can do better, guys.
Yeah, I have a feeling this didn't age well. I remember playing this at launch and thinking, hey, this is pretty fun. This is pretty good. This is interesting. Or at least, or at least remember thinking that I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
It hasn't aged well. We've gotten so many better games. We've gotten so many, and trust me, I was right there with you. didn't know until the very end if I was giving this a 2 or a 3.
Yep.
I would be fine giving it a 3. Again, take it or leave it. It doesn't matter to me. There's nothing here that's memorable, and there's not. You're not going to be recommending this to any of your friends. That's for sure.
I was going to say, if you got $5 burning a hole in your pocket, and you're like, yeah, I might as well just buy it. Find your friend, buy him a coffee, and go spend an hour talking.
Or wait until you have more $5 in your pocket and go buy Headmaster, which tells a much better story.
God, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Top 20 for sure. No, it didn't make it.
I feel bad because the one time Amanda played it, she was streaming it. And of course, you have to talk while you're streaming. And so she missed all the narration. Yeah. She's like, it's stupid. You just keep doing this. It's like, yes, but the best part of the game is the stuff you couldn't hear.
Right.
Yeah.
So that pretty much does it for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. As always, we want to know what you thought of Eve Gunjack in the comments.
Yeah.
I can't wait. There's going to be somebody that's like, this game is amazing. You guys are so wrong about this.
I only have one tattoo and it's Gunjack in 6-inch type.
And we want a picture.
Yeah.
ASAP.
Oh my God! If you have a Gunjack tattoo, yes, I will buy a Game Cat T-shirt and send it to you.
Wow, I like this deal. How big does it have to be? Because it might be cheaper to get the tattoo if it's small than the Game
Oh no,
Cat
it's got to be noticeable. It's got to be like, no, I can. This is a lifestyle choice I made. Yeah, if you got a little, what is that? No. So at least 3-inch letters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Expensive T-shirt you guys just bought. Also, we want to know what other games you want us to play.
Don't do that, please, God, don't do that.
This was not on anybody's list. I don't think there was. I don't think there was anybody out there saying, please do a 30-minute review discussion of this $5 game. But we did it anyway because we're insane. But let us know what other games you want us to play. As always, for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR, I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Desra.
We'll see you next week.